Video, we're going to talk more about Markdown, both how to write in Markdown and some of the benefits for it. There's a really clear reason why I use it throughout the class and why I'm going to have your assignments be submitted in Markdown. There are other ways that you could practice your coding, but there's certain benefits of Markdown that'll sort of become clear as the semester goes along, and we'll cover that at the end of the video. First, I just want to get us comfortable with Markdown. And so to take it back from the top, this is an entirely new R Studio session. There's nothing in the environment. There's nothing that's been done. And so to open a Markdown document, what I want to do is go up to this top corner with this green check mark or plus mark. And I want to scroll down and click on R Markdown, which is going to start to open a new document. And it's going to pop up this window, which is going to ask a few questions. What do I want to call the document? Or what do I want to add as a title? What should I list as the author's name? How do I want the document to be output? And so for the output, we want to leave that as HTML for now. That's the simplest way to create a Markdown document. For the title, it isn't actually that important. We can change that within the document anytime. I'll call this class example, and I'll leave the author as my name. And so then I want to press OK, and the Markdown document will pop up here. And so you can see that the title and the author and the output have auto-populated into the top of the document, and it also lists the date automatically. And you can see that the Markdown document has come with preset text. Over time, that'll become really annoying because you'll have to clean this out anytime you're starting a new Markdown document in order to write whatever you want the document to contain. But it's useful at the start that this comes in because it gives us sort of an example of how a Markdown document is used. And so you can see that some of the text is turned blue. This phrase here, our Markdown is blue, including plots is blue. And there's these hashtags here. You can see that there's text underneath it and it's all in black. You can see that this word knit is written in blue and it has a bunch of asterisks around it. It's a weird document. If I just sort of copied and pasted this into Word and printed it out, it would look really strange. You may recognize some of these commands from other videos, plot, the data set cars, right? This doesn't actually have much context of what's going on within the Markdown itself. And so when we are actually done with the document, it will look different than how we're writing it. The outputting of the document changes it. And that's what's meant by a markup language, which we're using in Markdown. We're marking up the document with formatting and code, which will then be transformed as we output it into a very different document. With Word, everything is as you see it. If you want to put an image into a Word document, you copy and paste that image and you put it in the document and it goes exactly where you want it. With Markdown, what you say is that you want to put that image there and then it comes in when you output it. And so let's just go ahead and output this default document to show what that might look like, because just looking at this text looks strange. And so when I'm done with the document, when I'm ready for it to be sent out, what I want to do is go and click on knit up here at the top. There's this knit button. And so I click on knit and I say knit to HTML because that's the output I want. And it's going to ask me where do I want to save it, because right now it's just saved within RStudio, but I need to actually save the document somewhere for it to become outside of RStudio. And so I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to save it as delete so that I remember to delete it. And I'm going to press save. And suddenly this document pops up, which has all of the same words essentially. So you can see that our Markdown here at the top is big and bolded. It's larger than the text underneath it. And that's because there's hashtags next to our Markdown. Those hashtags are saying that this is a section title and I want it to be bigger than the text underneath. You can see that this text comes through just as the text that was written. Further down, you can see this line, summary cars, and what that actually produces is what the command asks for, summary statistics on the dataset cars. And so all that I've said in the Markdown document is I want to include a table of summary statistics. And the Markdown produces that for me when I output it. I don't have to produce this and then copy and paste it into my document. Further down, you can see that the same thing has happened with this graph. I've said I want to create this graph when I output, and when I do, the graph is there. And so this can save you time on producing graphs and then copying and pasting them and reformatting them and adjusting them as the document changes them. Everything you're writing is all within one place. You're both writing the text and you're writing the code. And so it's a single process with Markdown. And this is an easier way to show your work in a class like this. And so it makes it easier for me to understand what you're doing, because here you can see that I can see both this command, summary cars, and I can see the output. And so when I'm looking at your homework, I know that you're writing the right thing. And if you've written the wrong thing, I can see exactly what you've written. I can both see your work and the output at the same time. And it also makes it easy to sort of flow between different questions. You don't have to copy and paste it. You don't have to worry about reformatting. Everything is going together in sort of a single operation. So as I've said, you can format the document as you go. And you can see some of these formattings here. So our Markdown is a title. Those hashtags are titling it. You can see this word knit is bolded. And the document knows to bold it because you've put these two asterisks around it. So two asterisks means bold this word. You could bold an entire sentence. You could bold an entire paragraph if you wanted. You've bolded this word. The document knows to do this. And there's a lot of different tricks for the different things that you can do in terms of adjusting a Markdown document. All of those are shown in the textbook. I walk through examples of everything that I'm going to ask you to do in one of our documents, and probably more in the textbook. And so at the end of chapter 3, there's this guide to Markdown. It's a cheat sheet. You can see that you can do headers of different size. You can change the text. You can create lists. You can insert images. Right? All of this has examples that shows exactly how to do it. And so the formatting will become a little bit more intuitive. It's slow to start. All of this is slow to start, but it can become quicker as you go. Instead of having to go back and rebold the headings of a document, you sort of learn to, as you're writing, add the hashtags, and you can keep moving a little bit quicker. And so those are some of the benefits of using a Markdown document. The biggest sort of leap to make is understanding how to write both text and code, because our Markdown is interpreting those two things differently. And so the next video will talk and go in more depth about how to use what's called a code chunk and what you can do writing text in a Markdown document. One final thing. So we can see that we have this document here. We can assume that this is all of the questions that I've asked you for the week. This is your homework. How would you start a lab each week? And so let's go over that, and then let's talk about how you would submit that lab. So let's close this out. Let's go into Moodle and find the lab for week 6. And so when I click lab 6 here, it's going to open a new window, and this is actually written in Markdown. But the Moodle isn't able to quite upload that correctly. And so what you want to do is go into Markdown, create a new document, and clear it all out. Get rid of everything. You have a blank document. And then copy all of this and paste it into there. And you can see that some of the formatting comes directly with. And so you want to write answers to questions underneath each question typically. And so when you save it, what you can see is I saved this to my desktop. And there are 2 documents. I call the document delete, and so there's delete.rmd, which is this Markdown document. And so I want to save that for me if I'm a student, because that saves my work. I can reopen this and I have everything that I've done. But this delete.html is the actual final output. The Markdown is going to show all of the pre-outputted work. The delete.html is the actual output of what I did. And so it's going to actually transform all of the formatting. It's going to insert all of the graphs or code. It's going to do all of the work. And so when I go to Moodle, I want to go in and submit this HTML document, which it'll take and it'll generate a PDF with, and that will be what's created. And so I want to see the final output of your work.